What's up, Meta Nerds? This video is all about the TX-130 Saber class fighter tank, also known as the Republic Interceptor, or simply the Republic Fighter Tank. It was manufactured by Rothana Heavy Engineering, and we can assume that they got help from the Mekun Corporation, because we know Rothana specializes in walkers, but when they build something that hovers, like the UT-80 or the stun tank, they team up with the Mekun Corporation. And when this thing floated off the assembly line, it was 8.2 meters, or 26 feet long, making it about 4 feet shorter than the armored assault tank. And some resources have it at 2.3 meters tall, or about 7.5 feet. It looks close to that size in Battlefront 2, but in some other art, it looks a lot taller, more like around 20 feet. Now what's really awesome about this tank is the sheer amount of weaponry that they've been able to pack into this thing. They have dual heavy laser cannons, a medium twin laser turret, or a beam cannon turret, but also dual thermal detonators or missile launchers, with a capacity of 16 to 20 missiles on board. In this cutaway, you can see where the missiles were stored on each side of the tank. You can also see the repulsor lift discs, which were used to get this tank off the ground. We saw similar technology used in the armored assault tank. In this Battlefront 2 footage uploaded by Spartan Slayer 15, we can see that the part of the tank that normally houses the treads works kind of like a wing, and is actually broken into two separate parts, with this back section working like an aileron, allowing the vehicle to roll from side to side. This could be combined with another amazing feature of this tank, which is the life-saving speed boost. If the clone troopers felt that they were surrounded by too many clankers, they had the life-saving option to give extra energy to these repulsor lifts, resulting in a quick burst of speed, much faster than they could safely maintain, but which would last just long enough for it to get out of danger. Now that's just an extra speed boost, but the Saber tank was already incredibly fast, at 320 kilometers per hour, or about 200 miles per hour, though this speed doesn't exactly translate to the Battlefront 2 video game. Maybe the Jedi put a governor on it. Don't want those clones to have too much fun. But to go along with the sports car's speed, this was also just a two-seater, room for a pilot and a gunner, who could also function as a co-pilot / navigator. And if you really wanted to get minimalistic, you can just have one clone pilot, and let an astromech be your co-pilot. And though it's unclear whether or not the astromech could operate the main gun, the pilot still had access to the heavy laser cannons on the side, as well as the missile launchers. It's because of this arrangement that the Saber tank was often referred to as the Jedi Starfighter of the ground. Now the Saber tank has one more feature, which gives it an advantage over its armored assault tank rival, and that is the inclusion of shield projectors. Some versions of the TX-130 had 2 shield projectors, one located on each wing, a sorely missed feature in a lot of Republic and CIS ground vehicles. Some weaknesses were that not every TX-130 had this shield generator, and that it had an open cockpit for the gunner, which is a pretty consistent design flaw for a lot of Rothana heavy engineering vehicles. Also, like most tanks, the weaker armor was in the back, specifically in the hatch door. A direct hit to this would be devastating, either puncturing through this armor, killing the troopers inside instantly, or it would damage it enough to set off an explosion in the reactor used to power the main gun. This tank was added to the Republic Fighting Force at the very beginning of the Clone Wars. Just like the clone troopers, this thing was built in secret, with Rothana Heavy Engineering being in charge of making the vehicles, and the Kaminoans in charge of cloning the troopers. It was used all throughout the Clone Wars, and was involved in fighting at Ren Var, Geonosis, Thule, Raxus Prime, Silokami, and a ton of other battlefronts across the galaxy. It was even piloted by some of our favorite Jedi, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, Luminara Unduli, and Coyote-Mundi, killing thousands of droids using the Saber tank. Like most Republic vehicles, after the end of the Clone Wars, they saw a short time of use before they were eventually phased out. The Galactic Empire made the TX-130T, which was almost the exact same thing as the Saber class fighter, except for that it had guided missiles, a much stronger shielding system, and was slightly bigger in size, allowing for 5 passengers inside. And though we don't have the cost for the TX-130 Saber class, we do know that the TX-130T costs 42,000 credits brand new. The Empire also created the 2M Saber class repulsor tank. This had an increased length of 10 meters, and was specifically designed to fight against the Rebels' T2B repulsor tank. And though it was statistically better than its competition, it was too expensive and became way too difficult to maintain in the type of battlefields that the Rebels were forcing the Galactic Empire to meet them on. Well, that's it for the TX-130 Saber class fighter tank's history. And the only behind the scenes facts that I have is that although we all know the TX-130 from video games like the Clone Wars or Battlefront, its first appearance was in the young reader's book Boba Fett Crossfire. There have been a couple of LEGO versions of this tank, and its descendant, the Imperial 2M hover tank, appears in the new Star Wars mobile game, Star Wars Commander, which is considered canon, by the way. Well, that's it for the TX-130 Saber class fighter tank. If you like these kinds of videos, go ahead and hit that like button, and if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. We're making videos like this every single day. Check out our Instagram at MetaNerdsLore, where you can see all kinds of other Star Wars stuff, as well as hang out with us live as we build some cool Star Wars props and costumes. Check out the description to see our Amazon store and our Patreon, both of which are ways that you can help us grow. But more important than all that, remember, use your speed boost wisely, and the Force will be with you. Always.